Hello, and thank you for your interest in the Adulting 101 Life Lesson Curriculum. Here's what this is. It's over 50, currently 58 at time of recording, standalone lessons for young adults. Each one includes a PowerPoint slide deck that walks through skills, strategies, and statistics related to a specific adulting topic. Then each slide has small group discussion questions so you can engage with your group and keep the conversation flowing. There's also guided notes for students. You don't have to use those, but they can be helpful if you want them to be able to take something home or if you need accountability if you're running your session virtually and you need them to turn something in. And then a digging deeper activity for them to explore or apply what they've learned. So if you're learning about resumes, there's a resume template for them to fill in. If they are learning about professional email, then they're going to have to actually send a professional email implementing everything they learned. Great news, everything is editable. I'm coming at this as someone who's done decades in Upward Bound College Access, teaching AVID for College Access. I was a camp counselor, a young adult ministry coordinator. So that's kind of where I'm coming from on my perspective here. If there's anything that you hear that you're like, I don't like that idea, you can just change it. Okay, there's an overall bundle that has all of them, but then there are also 5 separate collections, and each topic is available individually. So those are your purchasing options. If you're working more with high school seniors, you might be interested in the college preparation collection. So that's things like, how do I choose a college? What are the difference between majors and minors? College process, just like an outline of what you're supposed to do every month of senior year if you're applying to college. What's the value of community college? What's financial aid about? Recommendation letters, resumes, scholarships. Then there's a personal finance bundle. I'm based in Minnesota, and we are now implementing a new state standard that we have to have a personal finance class. So this might be some supplemental curriculum for that class. Banking, bills, budgets, credit cards, credit scores. Dying well, that one's about planning end-of-life documents. So a living will, will and testament, power of attorney, stuff like that. There's an independent living collection that has things like appointments, car ownership, cleaning, cooking, following the news, green living like recycling. Then there's career preparation, which could be great for a career investigations class. That goes over like how to apply for jobs and interview, how to write professional documents, professional emails, professional phone calls, sending mail. And then social and emotional skills. These are aligned to the CASEL standards and then some other ones as well. So we've got the classics like conflict resolution, decision making, self-awareness, social awareness, but then also how to be a good host, how to be a good guest, healthy relationships, what are the indicators of healthy relationships, things like that. There's also one in here called Turning 21. That one I actually originally made for my own nieces and nephews. I put a star by that one and Dying Well just to be aware that those might not be appropriate for every group. But that one's actually a very professional presentation about what are things that you need to know when you turn 21. Like how do you handle happy hour and what do you do if your boss shows up at happy hour? Do you leave? Do you change what you're drinking? Why is white wine refrigerated and red wine is not? Stuff like that. Okay, so before we get into details, what might this be good for? So many things. I think these could be great for a personal finance class, independent living classes. If you have an advisory or homeroom where you're working on social emotional skills, this might be a good supplementary curriculum for you. This plan originally came out of a brainstorming session for community education and looking at, can we have some adulting modules online for like new homeowners and stuff like that. College access programs. Again, I've worked with AVID and Upward Bound, SSS, McNair. I think these would be great for those programs as well. Senior seminar workshops, either high school seniors or college seniors. Residence life workshops, like everybody come to the lounge and let's all learn about cooking and cleaning skills or how to do taxes. Career center workshops, if you work in the career center. If you are a scouting leader, you could do senior workshops with this. If you are a youth group leader, do senior workshops with this. Any other young adult programs, adult education, you could turn these into online modules. Also, if you're just a parent of teenagers, this might be a great way to tackle, hey, what are the basic adulting skills you need before you move out on your own? All right, let's take a look at some of the college preparation lessons. These would be for 11th and 12th grade students. The first one we're going to start with is one that's just on the college process. Again, I originally made this one for my own nieces and nephews. We'd sit down in the summer before senior year and say, what are the steps to transition from high school to college? When do they happen? And how do I put my best foot forward? So we just start with, okay, in September, you're just collecting the pieces of your application. Don't worry about applying yet. Just collect all your stuff. October, that's your month to actually apply. Let's talk about the FAFSA, your transcripts, ACT, things like that. Next, we have the career preparation collection. This is great for all ages. This could be for adult career programs as well as high school. And just one of these decks is called Job Interviews, but it actually entails maybe 4 different lessons worth. How do I apply for a job applications? How do I prepare for an interview? What are the most common interview questions? And the digging deeper, they actually practice interviewing each other. And how do I master the process? How do I behave in the interview and after? So let's just take a look at that first part. For example, we'll talk about how we spend a third of our life at work, so you want to try to find a job that you enjoy, and it's okay to have multiple jobs and careers. And how do we get our foot in the door? How do we find job postings? And then the importance of reading the job description so you make sure that you are actually qualified for the job you're applying for. Using your resume, and it explains what a resume is, but there's also a separate session on resumes if that's helpful. Answering every question, leaving nothing blank. Using the keywords. If there was a keyword in the job description, have you put it in your application? Have you put it in your resume? So if they're using a computer to do a search, that they find it. Tips like that. Next, we have the personal finance collection, and this one is dedicated to all those people who post memes about how nobody in high school ever teaches you what you really need to know, like taxes. So, for example, the tax lesson walks through what are taxes, how do we file them, what are deductions, what mistakes can we avoid. So it talks of big picture, what are taxes, what do they pay for, what's the difference between sales tax and income tax, what are the tax brackets, how do those work, and when do you file your taxes, what's a CPA and why would that help you, what is a W-2, how do you find your information on there, what do the tax forms look like, and then in the digging deeper, they actually have a chance to fill in a tax form. Then we have the independent living collection. This one's great for all ages, but especially good for young adults. And it has topics like cooking, cleaning, and laundry, but it also has one of my favorites, green living. What choices can I make at home to heal and protect our planet? And what can I reduce, reuse, and recycle? So it starts with our big idea that we need to heal and preserve our planet, and reducing, reusing, and recycling are prioritized. The most important thing is to reduce our use, and then to reuse things when we can, and then to recycle. And then you can see here are all the resources that each one of these has its own separate section. And then what happens is that first, so starting with water, plastic, paper, for example. Water, what's the value of water? Why is it important? Are there any interesting statistics about this? And then how do we reduce our use of water? How do we reuse water more effectively? Plastic, what's the value of it? What's the fun fact about it? How do we reduce? How do we reuse? How do we recycle? Paper, what's the value? What's the fun fact? How do we reduce? How do we reuse? How do we recycle? So really practical every day. Finally, we have the social and emotional skills collection. These are aligned to the CASEL SEL standards, but there's also more in there. Perhaps my favorite session to run with young adults is the self-awareness one. This one is looking at different parts of who you are, knowing how you work, how you think, how you react, and what your triggers are. And so this one is actually set up to ask students to reflect on, do you fall more into option 1 or option 2? Circle what you prefer, and then do a show of hands and look for patterns. What are they noticing about who aligns? So like risk. Some people find risk to be enjoyable, and it releases positive neurochemicals in their brain. They get a dopamine rush. Other people find it unpleasant, and it's releasing negative neurochemicals. So think about yourself. Now let's look around the room. Are you noticing any patterns of who goes one way or the other? Listening. If someone tells me a story, do I tend to ask a follow-up question to learn more about their story, or am I more likely to respond with a story of my own, like, oh, that reminds me of a time when? Decision making. When you make a decision, are you more focused on the best solution to the task or the feelings of the other people impacted? Things like that. All right, I hope that gives you a good sense of what this product line is about. Guess what? I'm a real person, so if you have questions, just email me, adulting101curriculum@gmail.com. I'm happy to answer questions. I'm happy to put together just the topics that you need in a personalized bundle for you. Whatever you got, I'm here to answer your questions. Have a great day.